still using the traditional RAG where you create the embeddings into the database and give the prompt to get the information? Not at all, because now you need to learn about the Agentic RAG where AI can think, plan, decide, and then deliver the best answer for you. In this video, we are going to understand what is RAG, what is the difference between the traditional RAG and the Agentic RAG, why it is important to more go into the direction of Agentic RAG rather than the traditional RAG. And finally, at the end of this video, I am sure that you will get convinced to learn more about the Agentic RAG. So let's get started. AI world is changing very fast. The content around AI is flooding, and you will not know that which video to watch and which you need to skip. But at this channel, I create the videos so that you can watch, understand, and grow. That's the goal of these kind of videos. Your professional life can be improved if you upgrade yourself with the real knowledgeable video, not the clickbaits. So if you like these kind of video, please go and hit subscribe, because this is really important to me. And if you hit like button, that is important for the algorithm to push this video to others and make the people more knowledgeable. Okay, so first understand what is RAG. Now when I say RAG, so it is called Retrieval Augmented Generation. Now why it is called Retrieval Augmented Generation? Because we are retrieving information, that is first thing, retrieving, getting something out from the database, and we will talk about which kind of DB we are going to use. Then combining called augmented generation. Now what is generation and what is augmented? So when I say augmented generation, that means the information we are getting from the DB is now fed into the LLM, and the LLM will decide or actually generate the final output. So this is very simple. Retrieving the information from the database, giving the information to the LLM, and LLM is reframing and giving you the final output in a nice natural language. Then question comes, what is the unique thing about it, and why the heck we are doing all that thing? Can't we just query the database and get the data out directly? Why we need the retrieval heavy word, and why we need the LLM? So let's first understand the problem, and then we will see the solution the RAG going to provide us. And after that, we're going to see what is Agentic RAG. Okay, so let's talk about the problem. And the first ever problem is the LLM itself. Now, why it is a problem? So let's see, we have an LLM. Now in the LLM, what we generally do, we simply ask with a prompt and then we get the response. That's so easy. But every LLM is trained up to a certain model. Let's say talking about the GPT-5, and let's say it is having a cutoff knowledge till July 25. Now anything happen after July 25 or any information available after July 25 will not be available directly into this LLM, this GPT-5. Then what's going to happen? If you ask something, LLM simply can't refuse to answer. This is the good part as well as the bad part of the LLM. You will always going to get some answer from LLM. And if they don't have the answer, then what these LLM going to start is called hallucination. Now, what hallucination means, it is still going to give you answer. It actually frame the answer so that answer looks exactly perfect. But we know since it doesn't have the answer, how it can provide the answer. So obviously that answer is incorrect, and this process of giving the answer even if it is not having the information called hallucination. So this is the big problem on the LLM models. So this is, I can call it, the first big problem. Next, let's talk about the second big problem. So what is the solution of this hallucination? The problem is simply the cutoff knowledge. We can actually increase the knowledge of the LLM. So we can simply provide the knowledge for next 2 months. That means fine-tuning the model. Fine-tuning with the latest data, or at least the data on which we want to query about. That data could be information available on the internet, or some confidential information, or the limited information which is actually not openly available to everyone. Let's say company's policy or company's secure documentations. What if we want to have these LLM responding on these things? Then we can fine tune them. But the problem with the fine tune is it is really costly. So even if you fine tune with putting all of your money, the second big problem is if the information is updated, you need to refine tune. Now, what if you have invested thousands of dollars into fine tuning, and then suddenly after 1 week you have updated information, then you need to fine tune again $1,000. That's not feasible, and also it is really time consuming. It is actually time consuming task of fine tuning. So what is the actual problem number 3? We have the hallucination problem. We can solve it by increasing the knowledge base. But what else we can do is, whenever we are asking something to the LLM, instead of relying the knowledge of the LLM, we can say that, hey, here is the documentation, here is the big PDF of 500 pages, here is the information, go read everything and give me the answer from this document I'm providing. And this document is called context. So whenever we ask something to LLM by providing long list of data, that data is called context. And from there, the LLM can simply give the answer. So what is the problem with this approach? This is very nice, simple and easy thing. Yes. Okay. It seems very easy. It is doable, but there is two big problem with the third issue we have. See, context is good, but every LLM has a context window. That means a limit up to how much data you can send in one prompt to LLM. And also, the more data you are sending, the more token you are using, the more costing it is for this query. So obviously, this is totally bad idea. I can just cross it with red line. Now, the second big problem with the context providing is, yes, we can, let's say, provide the context, but what if these information are super duper secure? I even not trusting the LLM, or let's say I'm not trusting OpenAI, so that OpenAI is not reading my secure data. That means security is the big concern. We don't trust the LLM or the company who is using the LLM. So to solve all of these problems, we can use the RAG system. Now let's see how our RAG system is going to solve all these problems. We have the LLM, which we are going to use, but we also have a new thing called a vector database. Here, what we are going to do, we have the data This data can be the internal docs, some private information, or anything which we don't want to feed into the LLM, or we don't want to share it anywhere. Now, whatever the database we have, we will first prepare this data. So we do the prepare. Now on the preparation, what we do, we have the data, we chunk the data, and there are some chunking techniques how we can chunk the data. And once we have the chunk the data, or the data preparation is done, then we create the embeddings. Now with the embeddings, it is actually kind of numerical representation of the data we have. So embeddings is kind of like having AI language data. So if I'm writing something in English, it is for human, but for LLM we have the embeddings. We can use different embeddings model from OpenAI, from Hugging Face, or many other models we have. Once we have the embeddings, these embeddings are stored into the vector database, and I can create a proper arrow like this. Okay, so here. Now, these embeddings are stored in the vector database, and vector database is now a source of truth. See, user just do some query. Instead of directly feeding the query as a prompt into the LLM and asking LLM what is the answer, what we generally do in the RAG system is first we go to the database, the vector database. We do some kind of search. Generally it is a similarity search, or there's various different methods of searching into vector database are available, and this gives us some relevant information. Now keep in mind that whenever we do query, let's say what is the latest rule for the organization, now this is going to be only latest rule. So instead of fetching all the rules and all the policies of our company, we only fetch or only get the information from this vector database about the latest rule. And that latest rule will then feed it to the LLM. And this is called actually retrieval. And the data is retrieval database or retrieved database. So this is what we are doing. That's why it's called retrieval augmented generation. So before going into the LLM, we are doing a retrieval from the vector database. And once we have that, then we combine this with our prompt and then send it to the LLM, which then augment the generation and finally give the response. Okay, so this is very simple. RAG. What is RAG? Retrieval Augmented Generation. How it work? It actually get the relevant information from the vector database plus the prompt, send it to the LLM, get the answer. Now, how it is solving these problems? Since LLM now have the data, it will not going to hallucinate. So we are going to cross it. Now, since we always providing the relevant data to the LLM by doing the retrieval, we don't need to fine tune our LLM. So we have reduced this problem also. Now the last one, context and security. Let's talk about the context first, and security we will going to talk. Since we only pass the information which is actually relevant for the query user has asked, that means we are not passing any irrelevant information or any information which is not at all related to whatever asked. That means our context become very small and we are not providing huge context to our LLM. Coming to the last one, security, how it is solving the security. So remember why we were not able to pass all the docs or all the information directly into the LLM, because we don't trust OpenAI, we don't trust Anthropic, they are not going to use our information. Now, what's going to happen when we do this? We are not at all actually going to send the information on the RAG system. The retrieval data is not the text form. It is in the numeric. It is in vector form. That means this vector form of data is fed into the LLM, which is obviously a section or a portion of our entire secure internal information. And that's how it actually solves the security problem. So this is the traditional RAG. But you know what? Even with its traditional RAG, we do have one more step above, which is called Agentic RAG. Now, let's understand what is the actual problem with the normal RAG, which we have just learned about this, and what is Agentic RAG and how it is overcoming that problem. Now let's talk about the Agentic RAG. Whenever we have agentic, that becomes magical thing, and this RAG is also going to feel the same. So we understand the RAG, and let's say example of a company who is having employee data, then it also have some internal docs data, and then it also have some financial data. Okay, now obviously these are confidential. We don't want to expose to everyone, especially not to the LLM. What we can do is we can have a vector DB. Okay, this vector DB is very simple, and then what we can do, we can put all the embeddings inside this vector DB. Got it? And then we can create a simple RAG system. But with this, a problem arises. What if we have employees, docs, and financial data in bulk? Let's say we have GBs of data here, like 2, 3 GB, 10 GB. Then this vector DB becomes really huge. Now, what we can do, instead of just having one single database, which is actually going to hold all the information, what if we can have this as the employee vector DB, then documents vector DB, and then financial vector DB. Okay, and all these is dedicated to a specific thing. Now the interesting part comes here. We do have the LLM, so we do have the LLM here. When the user has a query, we can add another LLM. Interesting. See, we can add another LLM which is going to decide from which of these vector database we need to get the information for the query. So let's say I ask like what was the first quarter expenses. Seems like this is for the financial DB, but who is going to decide it? LLM. So LLM says that okay, we know that the query is something related to the financial information, and that's why what I want to do is doing the retrieval from only this financial data, and then go to the next LLM with the prompt, and the normal RAG will flow. But this is LLM we have provided is actually going to be an agent, the AI agent. And that's why whenever you add an AI agent who decide from where to get the data, the retrieval thing, that will become the agentic RAG. Isn't it really powerful thing? See, this is very simple. So let's take another example. What if I say like, what will be the salary of my employee XYZ? This actually need two different information, from one from the employee database and another from the financial database. In that case, the agent we have will going to decide, okay, first I need to go to the employee table, find out the employee, and then go to the financial vector DB, get the information from there, and then pass out all these information to our LLM to finally get the answer. So whenever we have a way where the agents are deciding the direction, the steps ahead to complete the RAG process, it is called the Agentic RAG. That's so simple. That's a really simple thing. Okay, so if you have any problem understanding like Agentic RAG or RAG, let me know in the comment section. I can create another video explaining it in a better way. But this is the simplest thing I can do for you. Now, the question for you, do you want the real implementation of Agentic RAG? If yes, then just write down in the comment section. Because if you write down in the comment section and I see that yes, you want the practical session or practical code where I do some Agentic RAG, creating an agent, having real vector database, everything is real, then just comment below so that I can get the signal and then I can work on that specific video. If you even have any question related to the RAG or Agentic RAG, you can simply email me at sarthak@bitfumes.com. Simple. Or you can follow me on any platform at Sarthak, SAVVY without any space. You can visit my website sarthaksavvy.com. Okay, that's so simple. To reach to me, ask any question. If you want, you can just again hit like button, which is signaling the algorithm so that this video will move and grow very fast. And if you have not yet subscribed, go and hit subscribe button. That will going to indicate me that yes, my content are liked by people. Okay, so see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.